Mr. Klein?
She was a fancy corporate girl, a long way from the birdclave she belonged in. Her kind only came to this part of town when they were in trouble, or wanted to get someone else in trouble. That's what I've been meaning to put on the door.
I'm Evelyn. Evelyn Gray. I need your help.
Do you? And let me guess, you can't afford to pay.
No, I can't. That's the problem. I think my identity's been stolen.
Identity theft. There was nothing Suits feared more, with good reason. Well, you may as well sit down and tell me about it. It was the standard story. She came home one night and the security codes had been changed. Her credit chips had been revoked. Even her phone had stopped working. She was lucky to have the cash for the cab right here.
Now, I just don't know what to do.
Have you contacted anyone else about this?
No, I was trying to reach Transginkyo when I realized my phone was dead.
Good, don't. If the credit bureau gets wind of this, you haven't got a prayer.
But I was expecting you to help me gather evidence to take to them.
Hell no. The last thing I want to do is draw attention to myself, and if you're smart, neither will you.
But how can I get my identity back if I don't do that?
You don't have the protections you're used to, understand? You have no money, no credit record, no apartment, nothing. You can't afford to hire a lawyer. You're not a person.
But...
If you go to Transginkyo, you lose any chance of getting your identity back. Fixing your records will cost them a lot. The bad press will cost them a lot more. Having you arrested as a vagrant is very cheap and very easy. And you know what happens then. Okay, maybe you don't. The point is, you can't win by drawing attention to yourself.
How can I then?
By hiring someone like myself, of course. What we need to do is trick the person who stole your identity into drawing attention to themselves. The credit bureau loves it when they can catch the perp. It lets them be the hero. You just need to play along and pretend that you haven't noticed the theft yet.
You've done this before.
Of course I have. Of course I hadn't. But I'd read about it.
Well, I don't know how I'll pay you.
We'll worry about that later. We'll see how grateful you are then. I never put the squeeze on a client before I've saved their ass. A guy like me has got to have ethics. Let's start at the beginning. Do you know of any enemies you might have?
Well, last year at our firm there was an accountant. I caught several mistakes.
First thing to do was to find out about Evelyn Gray. Like most of my gigs, this boiled down to knowing which databases to search and whose palms to grease. As I suspected, Ms. Gray was your standard corporate drone. She worked in the genetic engineering branch of Pangene as some kind of manager. So I went and tracked down the thief. She was a dead ringer for my client, but nothing a high-end body shop couldn't do. She wasn't hard to find. She was following the same routine Evelyn Gray used to. She was going to the same job, eating at the same restaurants, friends with the same people. The case was giving me a headache already. It just wasn't adding up. I needed more. You get it okay?
My lips aren't smoking, are they? Of course I got it okay.
I needed the kind of information that they put behind black ice, which is why I make sure people like Pascal owe me favors.
We're even now, right?
Indeed we are.
Analog.
I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy, I guess. Those are the originals.
They better be, and I better not hear about this from you again.
I don't play that kind of game. I stay bought.
That's what I've heard.
See? It's important to have ethics. So, anything unusual in the data, maybe in the past couple of days?
You mean on the credit report? No?
No unusual purchases, transfers, withdrawals, changes in spending patterns?
No? Aw, you didn't find the crook you were looking for?
Oh, I think I found her all right.
You wanted to see me? Any news on the case?
I thought we could go over some facts.
Okay.
Tell me about your job, Evelyn.
My job?
Yes, your job. What does Pangene pay you to do?
I provide ethical oversight for the engineer technicians. The position was created as part of our response to the lawsuits of the late Knots.
Very good. Now tell me something you couldn't have looked up in the public records.
What?
I want you to tell me something that you couldn't have looked up about Evelyn Gray, or had a black hat look up for you.
Looked up? What are you saying?
What did she do last week? When was your last meeting, Eve? What was it about?
It was...
You don't know, do you?
No, I don't.
Of course you don't, you fraud.
Fraud? No, I'm Evelyn Gray. You have to believe me.
Convince me. You had dinner with friends last week. It's on your credit record. Who was there? What did you talk about? When did you leave the restaurant?
It was me and... I don't remember.
I didn't think so. I should have known you were trouble as soon as you came in here.
I don't remember any of it.
You did a pretty good researching job, but not everything shows up in the database. Pretty clever getting some slob like me to do the dirty work for you.
What's happening to me? Why can't I remember any detail?
Drop the act and get out. I'm not going to be your fall guy, and I'm not going to be dragging your dirty little scheme. I've lost friends because of identity thieves like you.
No, but I'm not. I am Evelyn
Get
Gray.
out! I'm a sucker for not calling the cops already, but don't press your luck. And that would have been it. Except, I believed her. Every fact was pointing to her playing me for a newbie, and I still believed her act. There was a way she could be telling the truth. It was a long shot, but it could be checked. For a price. Hello? Pascal? I need a favor. Got it?
I got it.
No one else would hack Pangene's ice. I owe you one.
Consider it even.
That's your price? That's what you wanted?
And you'll get it worse if you blackmail me again, you son of a bitch, no matter how nice you are about it.
Stupid kid. He won't last long wasting favors like that. Oh well. There'll always be another to take his place.
All right, I'm here. What do you want?
I wanted to offer a conditional apology. You weren't lying to me or trying to use me.
What's the condition?
I was wrong about your motives, but not about the conclusions.
I don't understand.
Look, you're not Evelyn Gray. Or not the only Evelyn Gray. You're a clone. Eve Sub 2.
But no, that's...
Don't say impossible, because you know it isn't.
But why would she do such a thing?
Who? Eve Prime? I don't think she did. But she probably knows whoever did.
With Pangene.
Yep. Any unscrupulous engineer who she wrote up for an ethics violation. They'd have the means and the motive.
To create me, and program me with enough of her life so that I wouldn't notice. And why?
So that you'd start making identity theft accusations against Eve Prime.
Letting Transginkyo do the dirty work.
If you hadn't left your hat in my office, I never would have thought of it.
What do I do now, Mr. Quine?
Well, we can set you up with a new identity for a price. You move somewhere else, and chances are nobody would notice. Or,
Yes?
call Eve Prime. Tell her all about it.
Why burden her with it?
Because whoever did this is still out there and could do it again. And 2 heads are better than 1. Might be useful for a rising executive to have a clone. Think of how productive you could be compared to everyone else.
Yes. That is very persuasive. Thank you, Mr. Quine. You've been far more useful than I could have dreamed. Send us a bill for what you think you've earned. I'll see that it's honored. Goodbye, Mr. Quine.
Maybe she'd pay the bill, and maybe she wouldn't. It doesn't matter to me. A little bit of digging, and I can probably find the gene weasel who made her. Whoever it is, they won't be eager for word of this to get out. People have been lynched for less. And in a few years, if the Eves do as well as I think they will, maybe I'll look them up. Not that having a clone is illegal per se, but it just doesn't look good for executives in a corp like Pangene. It doesn't look good at all. The Eves strike me as reasonable people. I'm sure we'll be able to come to an agreement.